Episode 5. I could be daimyo, Saku said. Hana patted her bare skin with Oni-chan's cloth. She looked different without her makeup on, more sophisticated than expected. Her kimono shifted on her shoulders as she tugged at the collar. You would need control of the workers, she said, and the armed forces. We don't have that. The Tamina clan of the north are cruel and will destroy your village the first chance they get. Lord Niroko is not merciful like Lord Yataku was. Really, she can't be any worse than the last guy, Oni-chan said. Saku slowly paced back and forth in the hut. She felt herself checking her pockets, making sure the skulls were in their place. But I'm an idiot, she said. I can't make right decisions. How am I going to know what's best for that many people? And yet, this is our chance to rule ourselves, to finally do things our way for the first time in 100 years. Hana shook her head. This is only going to make matters worse. Yes, I could help you, and yes, the people respect me. The ones who don't want me crucified think I'm okay anyways, she said. Her elbows dug into the bamboo table as she put her hands on her chin hard. Sighed a deep sigh with the pained expression on her face. When Lord Niroko learns what we are doing, she went on, know that our heads will be removed, cleaned up, and dressed up for everyone to see. So if we do this, make sure you look your best. I do not want to become someone's talking head, Saku shouted. Sparks appeared in the air. As soon as she raised her voice, everyone in the room jumped back. She stopped and looked to the sky, spreading her arms out wide as if she could do something if thunder crashed down. Nothing happened. She repeated herself, calmly. Everyone returned to where they were standing. You were serious, Oni-chan said. In that case, I am with you. My head would look good on a display. Hana closed her eyes. Tenma was a regular at the kissing house. Yataku Samurai will listen to him. We will need his help to rally the leftover forces to take the castle, to show the people some legitimacy of your clan. Your divine power should help. Oni-chan clapped his hands together excitedly. You could be emperor. I think we have one. Bukufu or something? But who cares? You can claim divine right. Good thought, but let's keep it simple, Hana said. Saku waved Oni-chan off and walked around the water barrel. I can't even be in charge of my own finances. I got sad once and ate an entire week's wages. Get a Yashi. How can we call on him? The city can rally around him. If Lord Yataku is dead, then he is gone, Hana said. My father is angry at him. He likes his head attached, he tells me often. If you and your gift do not help us, no one will, and they will come for the village next. This is the only way. You mean he would leave us after cursing me, Saku said. That's pretty typical, Hana said. Saku, you are the only one who can help us. I did not have Take Over South Song in my spirit reading this week, Oni-chan stated. I shall spread the word. I will gather everyone and bring them to the front gate of the castle. And I reached out her hand to Saku's. If not you, then who? Kamo coughed from inside the pocket. How can you cough if you don't breathe air? Saku said. Being out of touch as you are with your past and culture and knowing nothing about yourself and all that, is this a good idea? Kamo asked. With great power comes the ability to roast people like a rice cracker. This could get a lot of people hurt if you don't use it right. Fushicho agreed. Saku bit her lip, trying to numb the sensation of dread. She took Kamo from his pocket and spoke to him. Feels like a lot of people are going to get hurt. No matter what we do, Saku said. I told Mibu I would not let her down. I will not back out of that now, she said. Hana and Oni-chan looked at each other, uneasy while she spoke to the object in her palm. I do not agree with this plan, Kamo said. There has to be more diplomatic solutions. Fujichao added. Saku placed Kamo back in the pocket and turned to the other two. She nodded at them firmly. Let's find Tenma, Kamo quacked. Language, Fujichao warned. The two-story wooden structure had the smoothest wall Saku had ever seen. Its pointed roof was tightly woven with thatch, its wood unblemished. Camellia flowers were so brightly yellow that they could be seen in dim-lit city lights. She marveled at the artisanal compound. The scent of rain clouds rushed past them in a chilling breeze. Saku held up a lantern with an Oni-chan face painted on it. Only one family lives here, Saku asked, as they waited at the sliding door. How can they afford it? Do they work extra shifts at the fields or whatever they do? Nobles don't have to worry about money, Fujichao said. They don't have to work for anything. The idea of not working was hard for the villager to wrap her head around, having been used to strict routines of labor. A memory came to her mind of receiving her monthly rice rations that had been halved. She had worried about how she was going to survive without food. Did these men not worry like that? A servant came to the door to answer for Tenma, wearing a light red garment with a long sash around the front. They were led to the second level to a room with a giant window, letting in the night air. A garden filled with azalea flower beds and tall potted fruiting trees thrived inside the room. A man entered the garden from the other side. Light shone off the top of his shaved head, his back hair unruly in an upknot. He adjusted his clothing, trying to hide the scar on his neck from them. My condolences, Lady Yataku. I have received your word that he has passed on. Tenma put a hand on her shoulder. I understand things were difficult between you and Yataku. That's one way to put it. Hana removed Tenma's hand from her shoulder. Saku could see a tear roll off the corner of her eye. We need your support, Saku said. With Hana's help, I am going to rule the city. So, I get this is sudden, and I know you don't know me. But if you believe... Oh, spare me your attempts of politics, Tenma said, waving his hand into the air dismissively. If it is for my lady, then you have my support. I do not care that you are a slave. It is time for that way of life to end. Lord Niriko will aim to capture the castle as fast as he can. You must gather everyone and... An arrow whistled through the air. Tenma grabbed at the shaft that lodged itself in his chest. He tried to breathe. Hana and Saku took cover behind the pots as another arrow struck him. His body fell to the ground on top of a bed of flowers. Peering over her cover, Saku spotted a darkly clothed man standing by the window wielding a longbow with gold engravings. The man's eyes widened. He pulled the string back and aimed at Saku's direction. The tip cut through the air sharply. Saku spun to the other side of the pot. It struck the fabric on her back, ripping it and cut her skin. Saku screamed with all of her might, facing towards the attacker from behind cover. Thunder cracked. She turned to shield her eyes from the flash. Hana tried to do the same, but could not. Her brown eyes met with the thunderbolt in front of her that ripped through the complex and struck near where the attacker had stood. He dropped and cried out face first into the floor. He lay on his side and curled into a ball, grabbing at the burn marks on his side. Saku approached him. That is your power? Hana asked Saku, not moving. You did that. Who are you? Saku asked the man laying on the ground, not noticing Hana hunched over with their eyes closed tight. His feet were kicking randomly as if he could not control them. When the scholars are destroyed, the attacker gritted his teeth as he spoke. The Tamina will control all of the tea. My family will get to live. That makes both our deaths worth it. Dark smoke filled the room. Sparks had ignited the wood of the flower bed, sending flame reaching towards the Tenma clan banner. Hana tried to walk over to Saku as the fire grew, but she stumbled. You work for my father, Yashinobi, she said to the attacker. The man let out a final breath. Tears from Hana's red eyes streamed down her cheeks. Her pupils had turned mostly cloudy white. Saku saw them. What did I do? Saku gasped. Everything is cloudy, Hana said. Help me out of here, fast. Where there's one shinobi, there are others nearby. Saku helped Hana leave the building, hearing frantic voices from within the compound. The air grew cold, colder than any night before it. A breeze swept through the city, causing the clouds of smoke to drift. Saku felt her hands tremble. Can I use this power without it hurting someone? She thought. When they had left and were sure that they hadn't been followed, they ducked behind a yakitoriya restaurant. Saku could still smell the grilled meat. She wrinkled her nose in disgust. Tenma was our only hope, Hana said. She held a hand to her forehead. Her eyes did not move. We have no way to gain our force's trust. Kamo laughed. I told you running into things without plans doesn't work. Shut up, Kamo, Saku said. Is there anyone in Lord Yataku's samurai unit that would help us? Jiro and Bokuni are the only ones, but Bokuni used to serve Lord Noriko before the land was given to the Zumono clan. Though Jiro could lead the remaining men, he was loyal to Yataku, and therefore I am not his best friend, so to speak. A bowl from inside the empty restaurant fell on the ground, letting out a loud clank. Saku jumped and drew her katana. A cat with its back arched slowly backed away from the bowl. She sighed and returned the sword to its place. You've gotten yourself in deep on this one, Kamo said from inside her pocket. I hope Hana's blindness is temporary, because that would suck. It is questionable, Fushichao said. If you fail, you will die, as will the others. Can everyone give me a second here? Saku said, patting her pockets. Hana reached out, feeling her. When she found her, she drew closer to Saku. Jiro is our only choice, Saku said. We head to the outpost. Hana, you cannot ask this of me. A man with long gray hair spoke, rather harshly. His age could be seen in the wrinkles of his face, and his arm struggled to hold the weapon he was cleaning steady. His nostrils flared from the smell of the fire from the cooking pit still burning. I'm not doing this for me, Saku said. I'm doing this for everyone in Shaosong. He wiped the blade of his yari and turned to the remaining tents in the outpost. Where there once had been stationed 1,000 men were now only 200. The samurai who left when word had arrived that the regent had been killed had brought none of their belongings along as they fled into the night. Jiro searched another abandoned tent, gathering any weapon he could find. Saku led Hana as he walked. Why should I trust a tea slave? He knelt, feeling the cold metal of a sword left in the dirt. He wiped it with the cloth and took it with him. We aren't slaves, Saku said. We are in debt to you conquerors who stopped us from drinking the tea. She stopped speaking. She swallowed hard and paced back and forth, left to right in front of the man. We are slaves, aren't we? Hana took a step forward. Jiro, who closed the flap at the tent, wandered to another. Our choices is to fall to the north or to take the city. All we need to do is go get it. Oh, is that all? Jiro sneered. Walk straight in. Should we knock first? You tell me how this works, Hana. These men are hungry and their morale is low. If you wanted to help, you would start picking up weapons so we can sell them and buy those who survived in the northern siege of Chinoki something to eat. I've stopped a man's heart tonight, and I've caught a house on fire, Saku said. With your leadership, we can do anything if we work together. You are the one who killed Lord Yataku. Jiro blew out his cheeks before throwing a pile of weapons at his own tent. Totally wasn't on purpose. I didn't know I could do that. I screamed and lightning came out of the sky and... Traitor! One of the samurai shouted from nearby. She also killed Ito and his son, said another. She addressed the crowd of warriors who gathered. The men looked tired and thin. This was not my plan. I do not wish to take life. I want to do what's best for everyone, but I can't do it by myself. From behind a rack with stored weapons near a tent, Jiro pulled a wooden training sickle. He showed the weapon to Saku and nodded. She shrugged, confused. He tossed it at her. Fight me, slave. She looked at the sickle. I can't even cut grass with this. No one is cutting grass, Jiro said. You are no warrior. I cannot fight with you. Why are we fighting with farm equipment? Mipu always beats me when I spar with her like this. What does this prove? We don't have time for this, Hannah said. The North might already be in the castle. We need everyone to go with us. I know a secret path that only a few know. We might be able to force her way in. Saku and Jiro turned to one another, realizing she could see less than they thought. Hana held out her hands in front of her while her pupils struggled to see the shadows in front of it. I know what you're thinking, she said. I can see a little. I can lead you in the right direction. If we make it in time, we can recruit those remaining in the castle to her cause. Saku pulled Kamo out as if he were a worry stone. Are you with us? She asked Jiro. Well, of course I am. I'm starting to feel at home in that pocket. Not you, Kamo. Sorry, I was talking to the skull, she said to Jiro. He stared hard at the woman before turning to the dimly lit castle on top of the forested hill. Tall grass near them waved back and forth in the cold breeze. I want no part in this slaughter, he said. Leave before it's too late. No, Saku said. A man rushed into the training grounds, frantic and calling out. Tamina clan of the North have sent their forces to the market district. He and the Hanashi clan of the North have taken the bridge by the Mizumano. Jiro, you need to do something. Jiro lowered his eyes. I'm too old for this. This is a death trap. I'm going to the castle, Saku said, with anyone who wants to go with me. You can be a part of why people die, or you could help us all find a way to live. Let's go, Hana. Saku led Hana in the direction of the castle on the hill. A few warriors joined them. Most of the crowd did not. Jiro cursed as they disappeared into the night. Saku removed brown tree needles from between her toes. The dense conifer trees and steepy rocky terrain made traveling difficult for the Tomodachi forces. They made their way slowly upward. The climb felt much longer than it looked. If we are where I think we are, Hannah said, the gates to the back tunnel pass should be up ahead. Someone should make sure it's clear before we proceed. A few men in blood-soaked clothing and patchwork armor left the group to scout up ahead. After several minutes, they returned. There's no one in the garden, one told Hana. They must have all gone to the main castle. Garden? Hana exclaimed. We need to go east. I have led us astray. What garden? Saku said. It is of no importance, she said. Let's press on. Hana stood and gently reached for Saku's hand. She motioned with her head for her to follow. After they walked along a path, they found by lantern light a gate built of stacked stones that created an arch. Beyond it, in the distance, stood the White Castle. Keep going, Hana told the men, struggling to transport the weapons attached to their back through the thick of the forest. She also took a hold of one of the other men's shoulders with her hand. Something in her voice gave Saku pause. Ignoring her grip, she pointed the light at the entrance to a stoned-off area. This is the garden, Saku asked, walking inside. Hana tried to pull her along, but she leapt and entered. Wait, Hana yelled. Inside, Saku found herself in a field of tall flowers. Plant stalks were tall and husky, and in the middle of the red blossom had a white seed in the shape of a skull. Red mushrooms grew at the base of the plant, surrounded by animal bones. Saku reached out, standing on her tippy toes to gently feel the plant she had only heard of before. These are my people's flowers. The source of the crazy tea, Saku asked, as a man guided Hana inside. She remembered the conquerors checking their belongings when she was growing up, looking for seeds even 100 years later after the takeover. Saku had always assumed they were doing this out of the kindness of their heart so their people could function away from the insanity their way of life brought. Holding the flower in her hands, she realized nothing about the way she lived was done out of concern. It was to silence their power. "They're so beautiful," Saku whispered. Her mouth hung open. "This is what made the tea I carried from Fukui." "No," Hana said. "What you carried is from another flower, purchased from the Mizumono. No one is the wiser. Jataku wanted to keep the flower away from the village. Now I can see why." She saw tears in Saku's eyes. "I have only dreamed of seeing these." She pulled one down towards her and felt its soft petals on her face. She went on releasing the flower and suddenly grasping her necklace. "My mother said she saw one once. On the night I got to see her, before they took her away. She refused to tell me where she saw them, in case I went looking for them. But I never left the village. Why aren't they growing these still?" Hana looked down. To warn what Sao Song would do if they were ever crossed. "For a long time, it worked. Come on, I still need your eyes," Hana said. "Why did you try to keep me from these?" She did not answer her question. She simply said, "The castle isn't far. We need to move." Before leaving, Saku took 2 flowers and placed them in the Mizumono bag. Once they had passed the fields, they headed east until they found the tunnel. They climbed to the rocky hand-dug path to a raised stone pile platform that stretched the entire length of the foothill. Beyond trees above stood the painted white castle, with its 4 levels and slanted roofs painted with a very dark blue. Dim light shone through a multitude of slit windows on the lower half. "How are we supposed to get in from down here? I thought you knew a way to get in," a samurai asked. "I told you I knew a way to the castle. No one said anything about getting in," Hana spoke. Saku approached the platform and took hold of one of its stones, testing its sturdiness. "This is no bigger than a black pine. I can get in and find out what's going on." She found a foothold and began to climb. "Are you insane?" Kamo said. "You're gonna fall to your death. I'm not ready to die again." "I climb these all the time," Saku said. Hand slipped as she tried to pull herself up, which caused her to lean back. Quickly, she found a hold and steadied herself. "All the time?" Fujito asked. "Every once in a while," Saku admitted. Slowly, carefully moving up and sideways, she climbed the wall of the castle and found a secure hold on the boulders and cracks of the platform until she came to a narrow window. She leaned in, palming her left hand to peek inside. A candle burned on the other side of the small room, filled with bundles of arrows that hung from the wall from leather straps. She struck the wooden bar in the window as hard as she could, but it did not move. Using the window's edge as a foothold, she leveraged herself up. With her other leg, she kicked at the bar, making a loud thump. "That's a lot of noise you're making," Kamo said. "You're going to alert." Before Kamo could finish speaking, Saku had found a hold and lifted herself up, using all of her strength so her feet dangled below her. Using both legs, she kicked, causing the wood to crack, sending pieces crashing down to the stone floor. Her fingers slipped. She felt herself falling. She desperately reached for something to hold. Somehow, before falling helplessly below, her fingers caught the edge of the ledge. She dangled for a moment, panting, her face flush. Frantically, she fought to pull herself up over the window and into the room. After positioning herself sitting below the window, she tried to regain her breath. "Well, they know you are here," Kamo said. Saku drew her katana and stood to her feet. The halls were quiet. Rooms decorated with armor displays and pottery were lit but empty. "Where is everyone?" Saku whispered. "You should open the front and get everyone inside," Kamo said. Suddenly a voice rang out in the halls. You don't really You don't really have to tug on my ear. Ow, that hurts, it said. Sounds like Ayashi, Saku said. Get moving, another voice cried. Saku turned in time to see Ayashi thrown hard to the tatami mat in a large room next door. She looked up to see someone standing in the shadow of a wooden sculpture of a warrior. The person held a longbow with an arrow drawn pointing at Ayashi. Saku walked into the room and stood at a safe distance in the shadow of the Zumono family banner. Ayashi looked hurt. She clenched her fist and gritted her teeth. Her eyes pointed in the direction of his capturer. Sparks flew. Then she thought of Hana, out there, blind and helpless, in the building that had caught fire earlier. As much as she wanted to, seeing the figure in the shadow, she did not use her power. She loosened her grip and calmed herself. Where is Saku? The voice cried after moments of silence, or the Ronin dies. The figure stepped into the light. Saku's hand shook. Mibu, she cried. Saku! Saku ran the Mibu and jumped on her, wrapping her legs and arms around her. They hugged each other tightly. I thought you had been killed. I left to look for you when you didn't return. I tracked you to the camp, the Mizumano. I heard you were wanted then. Everything in the outside world went crazy. It is chaos out there, Mibu said. I almost killed you. Ayashi remained on the ground. I'm not the bad guy here. I'm on your side. I told you not to speak unless you were spoken to, Mibu said, turning in his direction. She jumped me and took me captive from behind. That woman is crazy, he said. Silence, Mibu yelled. We've been here for hours. Where is everyone? What is going on? And what is that in your pocket? Mibu began to reach into Saku's pocket. No, Saku said, but Mibu took the object out anyways. Saku tried to reach it, to take it back, but Mibu held her hand away. Oh, it's you, Kamo said, now in Mibu's hand. I remember you. You were in the market district one day. You fed me some of your onigiri when I was alive. Saku looked at the duck skull in horror. She dropped the skull. Saku fell to her knees to save Kamo from falling to the ground. What is this, Saku? Why do you have this? Like you're a tea drinker. His name is Kamo. A spirit speaks from within his skull, that of a duck who lived in this area, a duck you shared your onigiri with when you were in the market district. Mibu stared at her friend in disbelief. I told you that story, she said. What madness are you speaking? You have to trust me, Saku said. There are some things I have learned about myself that are going to be very hard to believe. Saku pulled a skull flower from her bag and presented it to Mibu. There are a lot of things we were told that are wrong. Put that away, Mibu said, turning around in shame. Why do you have that? You would anger the conquerors with that behavior. We are not to... Do not speak their names like that, Saku said. They were not our friends as they are now. There is nothing wrong with me. For once, everything is right, and I have found a way to fix everything. What did you do? Why are you talking like this? Mibu spoke. Her eyes were closed. I forced her to drink the tea, Ayashi said. No one else has to know, Mibu said, reaching for Saku's hand. We can heal you, Saku. Let's get you home. No. We are here to take over this city. Mibu looked at Saku hard, putting her hand to her side. This isn't like you. But it is, she said. This is the real me. I didn't know it. We were lied to. We can free the village. Free, Mibu said. We aren't slaves. We are free. We have a conqueror ruler. What are you talking about? We have 2 hours a day to do whatever we want. We are not. I accidentally killed Yataku and messed up his military advisor's head. We decided the town should belong to the people. Mibu dashed swiftly to Saku and got in her face. Not only did you drink the forbidden tea, but you are now crazy enough to think you can create a political coup? Pounding echoed through the halls. That's coming from the front gate, Mibu said. Quick, get the prisoner. Saku turned to where Ayashi had been. He had vanished. Mibu narrowed her brow. I am a fool. Let's get out of here. Mibu reached for Saku's hand. The two found an opening that looked out to the large arch that led up from the forest road to the castle. A multitude of people stood, holding torches, shouting. What are they saying? Mibu said. As they listened and watched from the room above, they began to recognize the words the crowd was chanting. Oni-chan and others from the Mizumano stood along with them. Long live Tomodachi, they cried. Saku squinted and recognized the girl and his brother standing next to Jiro, who stood tall holding his weapon high. Why are they saying this? Mibu asked. Saku's mouth twisted as she rubbed her fingers together, as if to check if she was awake. I am your daimyo now. You are delusional, Mibu said. But Saku stepped out so the crowd could see her below. Cheers erupted from the people. She saw Hana and the other forces make their way to join the crowd. Mibu's jaw dropped, and Saku raised her hand. As first order as your daimyo, she shouted to them. Fukui and all the slaves are free. Mibu, though baffled, shrugged. Well, okay, then you might be crazy, but I'm not going to complain. Hail, Emperor Tomodachi! A voice cried out. I'm not crazy. I can shoot lightning from the sky, but I can't show you. I can't hurt you like I've hurt others. The realization came over her face as she spoke. Sure, you can shoot lightning from your eyes, Mibu said, softly patting her on the shoulder, as if her friend had too much sake to drink on a day off from the fields. Have you eaten since you became a tea drinker? Maybe the grain from the rice will suck up the wacky juice in your stomach. Strange music began to play from below the forest path. Dark-toned flutes rang out, a small band of men walking along the path towards the castle. A single man stood out in front of them, holding a message and a torch. Saku and Mibu left and ran through the castle to the gate below to join the others. They walked to the group. Jiro and his warriors surrounded Saku. A man held out a red wax seal with the northern clan symbol stamped on it. Lord Tomodachi and Lady Hana, the man said. Lord Noriko wishes to speak to you at a neutral site. This letter also describes the wishes of some of the samurai who were protecting Lord Yataku. They wish to join our clan. Jiro looked at Hana, who frowned. What is this? The man approached Hana. Jiro began to draw his weapon, but Saku motioned him to halt. This is so we can find a peaceful agreement on your city's surrender. We have made a treaty with the Northwestern clan. The region was given to us in this agreement. We wish for a peaceful transition to power. Oni-chan took a hold of a large club with pieces of metal sticking out. Others in the crowd did the same. The Emperor will approve, he said. There is no use in resisting. Saosong belongs to the Tamina clan. It belongs to us, Saku said, approaching. The city is of its people, not Lord Noriko. The man looked at Saku for a moment, but turned back to Hana. We await your reply and your cooperation, as do the rest of Yataku's men who left the castle and joined us. Hana's eyes met Saku's. The woman seemed as if she had been in that moment before. She spoke, still looking to Saku. I shall meet Lord Noriko as he wishes, but we shall not give up this city. Lord Noriko will look forward to your presence, the man said. They left. Mibu lowered her head. There is no chance the army of the city can match the north if some of their forces have surrounded them. We have no chance. Kamo and Fushishao have gotten me this far. They will help us. Saku pulled both skulls out from her pockets. We're not gods, Saku, Fushichao spoke. We're just spirits. Put it away, Mibu said, dismissively. Mibu hung her head and walked back towards the castle. Hana was led to Saku. She crossed her arms. Jiro said you saved his grandkids. He knew not of this before, but he is thankful. He paused. You know, if both of you had the power of the tea inside you, there would be no way anyone could stop us. She doesn't believe me, Saku said. Hana's eyes looked deep into the night. I have failed you. If I could have led you here quicker, I might have been able to talk the remaining men into staying and fighting with us. You must find a way to show her. Tomorrow, we will find a way to end this. Saku looked in despair at Hana. You can't see because of something I did. I can't risk hurting her. And she is never going to believe me. To get away from the castle. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but if we are attacked by 2 armies sitting up here, we'd be trapped here. Hana grinned. Well, look at you making smart decisions. Let's get these people something to eat first, Saku said.